He doesn't wait until their confusion clears or the betrayal is confronted or everyone in the room is on the same page. He offers himself within the confusion. He steps right into the middle of the messiness, into the room full of people who are about to let him down in every way imaginable. And that's the thing about this kind of love, God's love. It doesn't wait for the right conditions. It doesn't require you to have it all figured out or to perfect yourself or to be through the mess. Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's deep dive episode of The Best of You. I'm Dr. Alison, and today we're doing something a little different. This week is Holy Week, as you know if you've been listening to The Best of You every day. It's the week leading up to Easter, and today's deep dive episode is going to continue in that same theme as we focus on the story of Jesus as he moves from safety to rupture to suffering and ultimately to love. Before we dive in, just a quick note that this week's deep dive episode is audio only. We'll be back on video for a new guest interview episode next Thursday. And as you know, if you've been paying attention to The Best of You for a while, we do include ads on these Thursday deep dive episodes. That's part of how we support the work of creating the podcast, both the Thursday deep dives and the daily devotionals, including the amazing team who helps me bring it to life each week. So you will hear some ads on today's episode, just as you do every Thursday deep dive episode. Okay, with that, let's dive in. So I hope you will take a breath with me as we dive in, because I think the pace of this week, Holy Week, is really crucial. There's something that happens when we just rush through it. I know I've done that so many times in the past. I'll get to Easter Sunday and have missed the whole deeper journey. And so I've really appreciated the process of creating these Holy Week devotions. It's been really meaningful to me personally, and I hope it will be for you as well. So today, I want us to slow down and I want to sit with you in the middle of this week and let it do its work in us as we join Jesus on this Thursday of Holy Week. Earlier this week, we talked about safety, about what it means to find solid ground when the world around you feels shaky. We talked about betrayal, that specific kind of pain that comes when someone you trusted turns on you and lets you down. And we talked about resilience, about how we keep going in a sustainable way, even when things are hard. And now we arrive at Thursday. This is the night before everything changes. I want to linger here because I think this particular night has something really specific to say to those of us who are doing this hard, ongoing work of healing. Here's the scene I want for us to hold in our minds today. Jesus is at a table with the people he loves most. These are dear friends he has traveled with, laughed with, cried with, argued with, and he fully knows what is coming. Betrayal is already in motion. One of the people at that table with him has already made his decision. Another one is about to deny even knowing him. The rest are confused, tired, a little oblivious, but also concerned with how serious things are. And in the middle of all of that, Jesus does something unexpected. He doesn't give a speech explaining things. He doesn't issue a warning. He doesn't work to mitigate the harm that is about to come to his own self. Instead, he casually picks up the bread. He picks up the cup and he offers them. This is my body. This is my blood. Do this in remembrance of me. Today's scripture is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 23 through 26. The Apostle Paul is recounting what happened at that table. The Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this, whenever you drink it, in remembrance of me. For whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes." And I think if we're honest, this whole thing is a little unsettling. It's intimate in a way that almost feels uncomfortable. It's confusing. It doesn't fully make sense, even now, thousands of years later, even to those of us who have said those words or heard them hundreds or thousands of times. Imagine being in that room. You're tired. You're worried. You can feel that something is off, something ominous. There's a weight in the air you can't quite name. And then the person you have given up everything to follow picks up the bread you are about to eat for dinner and says, "This is my body, broken for you." What do you do with that? I think the honest answer for many of us is we don't know what to do with it. Not yet, at least. It's both draws us and it also unsettles us. And I want to stay here with that not yet place because I think that's where a lot of us actually live. Here's what strikes me most about this moment. Jesus doesn't wait until they have full understanding. He doesn't wait until they're ready, fully comprehending what's happening. He doesn't wait until their confusion clears or the betrayal is confronted or everyone in the room is on the same page. He offers himself within the confusion. He steps right into the middle of the messiness, into the room full of people who are about to let him down in every way imaginable. And he offers himself right there. And that's the thing about this kind of love, God's love. It doesn't wait for the right conditions. It doesn't require you to have it all figured out or to perfect yourself or to be through the mess. And I think most of us, if we're honest, are conditioned to want clarity before we receive. We want to understand something before we let it in. We want resolution before we open up. We want things to make sense before we trust them. And this isn't a flaw in our character. This is normal. It's a big part of self-protection. That's what happens when life has taught you to be careful when you've been hurt before, when you've opened your hands or opened your heart and had it broken or pushed away. But here's what this moment at the table is so powerfully showing us. So often love arrives before we're ready for it. Sometimes it's offered in a form we don't yet recognize or don't yet want or don't yet know how to receive. Sometimes the thing that's been given to us, the thing that would actually change everything, is sitting right in front of us and we can't quite fully take it in. This isn't a failure on our part. It's just the truth about how we are. And this text, this strange, intimate moment at a table on the absolute worst night of the year, holds that truth with so much tenderness. The offering of love comes in the middle of the mess. It comes in the middle of confusion, of unresolved betrayal, of not knowing what's actually about to happen. I have had moments in my own life when something was being offered to me and I couldn't quite receive it. When I first started dating my now husband, I had some really painful, even toxic patterns buried really deep inside. I didn't know this. It was outside of my conscious awareness. And these are patterns that other people wouldn't have necessarily seen. I didn't hurt others outwardly. And in fact, there were a lot of the things I talk about on the podcast and in my books. I'd please people on the surface, but internally I was cut off from parts of myself that I'd long buried and exiled and shut down from love. I'd put up these walls that I almost didn't even realize I had. And when he got close enough to begin to notice that, he would ask questions genuinely. He'd say, "Hey, I don't get this inconsistency that I see. What's going on here?" He was genuinely curious, not trying to stir something up, but my reactions were not always pretty in those moments. He'd touch on a hurt place I didn't even know was there, and I would lash out sometimes at him for asking. I'd start spinning. I'd start getting defensive. I'd start getting protective. And he had no idea what had just happened. Here's my point in telling you this. His offering didn't feel like love to me At least not the kind of love maybe I'd romanticized, right? It felt uncomfortable, upending. I had to confront things in myself. It was hard. I had to learn how to not only take my walls down with him, but also within myself. It took me months, longer in some cases, to recognize what was actually happening. He was noticing me. He was seeing parts of myself that no one had ever taken the time to really dig into. He was asking questions no one had ever thought to ask, and that was love. He was seeing a bigger version of my story that I could not yet see. And over time, it changed me. It transformed me. It brought the more wounded and hidden parts of me out into God's light for healing. But initially, it was very uncomfortable for me to receive because I wasn't fully ready. I didn't fully understand, and I didn't know what I just did not yet know. If you've been listening for a while, you know I've been using Remy night guards, and I'm genuinely grateful to have Remy in my routine. I've always been someone who clenches at night, especially during stressful seasons, and Remy has helped me protect my teeth while I sleep. If you're part of the roughly 30% of Americans who grind or clench their teeth at night, your smile needs protection. Remy's custom night guards are clinically tested and FDA cleared to help protect your teeth from damage caused by grinding, reduce jaw tension and facial muscle strain, and improve sleep quality. And you get the same professional quality and comfort as a night guard from the dentist. But Remy costs about 80% less and it's way more convenient. Here's how it works. Remy sends an impression kit straight to your door. You follow their step-by-step instructions to get your impression. Then Remy crafts and ships your custom-fit night guard and you just start wearing it at night to protect your teeth. And in addition to my Remy night guards, I recently tried their ultrasonic cleaner and I love it. It makes keeping my night guard clean unbelievably easy. Use code BESTOFYOU to get 50% off your purchase of a new night guard. That's 50% off at shopremy.com/bestofyou with code BESTOFYOU. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode. There's an interesting mixture of both curiosity and wonder and also a little bit of chagrin when I look back at those moments when love was being offered to me and I just didn't know what to do with it. And I wonder today, this week, if you know something about that. Maybe you've had seasons where you've kept other people at arm's length, not out of cruelty, but out of self-protection. Maybe you've been hurt and you put your walls up preemptively because you don't want to be hurt. Or maybe like me, you haven't even known that there are parts of yourself that have been closed off to another human. They're so walled off deep inside of you that sometimes you don't even know how to reach them. This is so normal when you're in any kind of process of healing. It can be hard to recognize the very love we need most. And again, it's not a flaw. It's not a failure. It's part of the growing pains of healing, of needing something you don't yet quite know how to receive. And there's maybe very good reasons your nervous system has learned to protect you. And when I think about that night with the disciples and Jesus, I think about what a vivid picture it is of these guys sitting with Jesus and knowing there was something there that they needed, but not really having a clue what was really about to take place, and that it was, in fact, the most loving thing any of them could ever encounter. And that, I think, is what makes this moment at the table so extraordinary. They don't understand what he means. Not really. They're eating the bread, drinking the cup, hearing the words, aware that something is happening, and yet none of it has really clicked yet. The full weight of what is being offered hasn't landed. And Jesus knows this. He knows Peter is about to try to physically stop the guards from taking him, stop the act of love that needs to happen, as if he could prevent what's coming. He knows that Peter will then deny even knowing him 3 times before morning. He knows Thomas will doubt. He knows they will all scatter. And he offers the bread anyway. Which means this: Jesus' offering isn't contingent on their readiness to receive it, or their ability to understand it, or their capacity to receive it at all. And here's what's striking to me when I look at these stories, when I look back at those early months with my husband, at the ways I lashed out, all the ways I couldn't take in what he was offering, all the ways I was clumsy and defended and didn't even know it. What I feel in that strange mixture of emotions is something akin to a miracle, right? It's a miracle that love broke through anyway. through all of the messiness and all of the back and forth and all the imperfect ways that we humans try to give and receive love, something good still broke through and love did its work. And I see that same miracle in all of us, including these disciples. They didn't get it right. They weren't perfect. They betrayed him. They denied him. They doubted him. They got in the way of love, sometimes quite literally. And yet they kept coming back, not perfectly, not gracefully, but they came back to love. And the difference between these disciples and Judas isn't that they were better people. It's that they kept coming back. And love was always there waiting for them when they did. And that's what I find almost unbearably beautiful about this story. It's not that the process has to go well for love to do its work. It's not that you have to receive it perfectly or even gracefully or even recognize it for what it is in that very moment. It's that love is still offering. And somewhere in our feeble, clumsy, often confused attempts to find love and to receive it, something shifts. So here's the distinction I want to leave us with today. There's a difference between learning to receive love and trying to control it. Controlling is what we do when we're afraid. We want to manage everything. We want to perfect everything. We want to perfect ourselves. We want to control the circumstances. We want to perfect the person who is trying to give in their own feeble way. We want love to arrive in a form we can understand and verify and approve and feel good about letting in. We want the process to be clean and to feel comfortable. And I get, but the problem is the process is rarely clean. It's almost always messy. And receiving when we feel messy is hard. Receiving love isn't about perfecting ourselves and making ourselves ready for that love. It's about a willingness to stay in the mix, to stay in the mess, to stay in the brokenness, and to keep coming back to love. It means sometimes we lash out or shut down, and then we come back and we say, I'm sorry. I'm here. It means sometimes missing the gift entirely and then one day recognizing, oh my gosh, that was there all along. It means being clumsy in the presence of love and choosing to open ourselves at least a little tiny bit. That's what the disciples did, and that's what I want each of us to do today. So as you move through today and into Good Friday and then toward Easter Sunday, wherever you find yourself in the messiness of your own life, I want to offer you this. Maybe you've been hurt by someone who was supposed to love you and didn't. And that wound has made it hard to trust that anything being offered to you now is real or safe or worth the risk of opening up again. Maybe you've been shutting love out. Maybe there's a person in your life who has shown up for you, and you keep finding reasons to hold them at arm's length. Maybe you've been so defended, so depleted, so busy managing everything that you haven't been able to let much in or ask for what you need. Or maybe you've been clumsy in how you've received love. Maybe you've lashed out when someone tried and maybe didn't get it just right. Or maybe you've doubted when something good was in front of you. Maybe you've scattered when things got hard because a part of you was afraid and you're carrying some shame from that. Or maybe you're somewhere in between all of it. You're not even sure what you've missed or what you still need. You just know that some part of you needs love, and you're not even quite sure how to open up to it. Wherever you are, that's okay. That's actually the whole point of this story, because here's what I want you to hear. It doesn't have to be perfect for it to work. We have this idea that transformation happens in a single dramatic moment, that one day the fog will lift and everything will suddenly be clear and we'll finally be ready to receive what's being offered. And sometimes that happens, but more often, transformation looks like the disciples. It looks like my own story. It looks like a long, clumsy, imperfect process of coming back, of not quite understanding, but staying present, of missing something and yet still returning, of lashing out or scattering and then softening, of doubting and then slowly, quietly returning to belief. That's what a miracle actually looks like most of the time. not a lightning bolt. It's not a sudden clearing. A miracle is the moment you turn back toward love, wherever it may be found, right in the middle of the mess. So today and this weekend, I want to invite us into just this one thing. Not perfecting ourselves, not trying to have a grand spiritual transformation, not trying to get it all figured out. Just taking one small step toward love, whatever that looks like for you. Whether it means trying to open your heart and just saying, God, I need you today. I haven't felt close to you. I've been preoccupied. I'm here. Whether it means turning towards someone who has extended love to you or someone you love and reconnecting with them intentionally, opening your heart to that person again. No matter how imperfect, however small, however quiet, take one step toward love. Because that's how love works. It keeps setting the table in front of us. It keeps offering the bread, and it keeps meeting us exactly where we are in this moment. Clumsy, confused, not quite ready, not fully comprehending, and saying, this is still for you. If this episode stirred something in you, I'd love to hear about it. You can email me at info@dralisoncook.com or reach out through my website, which is dralisoncook.com. And if you want to keep going deeper on some of the themes we touched on today, themes of receiving, painful patterns, self-protection, learning to open up, these threads run through every single episode we put out, including the daily devotionals. I'll be back with you on tomorrow, Good Friday. And until then, be gentle with yourself this week. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of The Best of You. It would mean so much if you take a moment to subscribe. You can go to Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to or watch podcasts and click the plus or follow button. That'll ensure you don't miss an episode, and it helps get the word out to others. While you're there, I'd love it if you leave a 5-star review. And be sure to join us each weekday for The Best of You Every Day, a brief daily reflection to help you start your mornings with a steady dose of wisdom. Remember, as you become the best of who you are, you honor God, you heal others, and you stay true to your God-given self.